In the name of Allah, and prayers and peace be upon the Messenger of Allah and upon the one who prayed, and peace and blessings be upon our Master Muhammad and his family and companions, and peace be upon you and Allah's mercy and blessings, God willing. Today we will make baklava with minced meat. First, in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, I have minced meat. This is minced one. This is half a kilo. I will knead it and I will take half a kilo of baklava. This is a half kilo of baklava. And I have half a kilo of onions, and I have tomatoes, about half a cup of squeezed or chopped tomatoes, and I will have ghee and spices. First, in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, I put the pan on the fire and put oil in it. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, oil or ghee or both. And I will let it heat up well, and when the oil is hot, I chop the onions and I will put them in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. The amount of fat you get according to the fourth, you can reduce or break it according to what you want and according to the meat you have. If the meat you have has a lot of fat, do not break the fat at this stage and sauté the onions until they are transparent. I put half a kilo of onions on half a kilo of meat so that the stick does not come out dry. After the onions have softened a little and turned yellow, I put the meat in the name of God and try to chew it like this so that I can turn it over with the onions. After the meat has been loosened with the onions, I will reduce the heat a little so that it can take its place in the car. I will make the heat medium and then add the spices to it. Half a teaspoon of black pepper and half a teaspoon of ground ginger and a pinch of ground cinnamon, about half a teaspoon as well, and half a teaspoon of 7 spices. Of course, the spices are according to taste. I mean, you cannot add all these spices. You can enjoy salt and black pepper, but for people who like a lot of spices, and I will turn. I wait a little while for the salt until the meat is cooked because salt delays the cooking, and when I feel the meat starting to cook, I add a small spoonful of salt, and of course I adjust the salt now. After that, I add half a cup or a cup of squeezed tomatoes, or we can put them cut up, and I stir them well, and I turn down the heat and leave the sticks together until they are at a good level. If you like red or green peppers, you can put them. I will cover it and let it cook. While the sticks are cooking, I will take the free rolls to divide them in half. In the name of God. We wrap them like this because they are the shoulder of the freezer. I have to wrap them well so that no water reaches them. I take them like this. We can divide them in half to make it easier for the same work. And the one I will work on must be covered, and the one that is not fried must be covered so that it does not dry out. Now, in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, I will work on the phyllo dough. I have ghee. I melted it on the fire, but I did not knead it. It does not have to be very hot. After that, I bring the tray that I will make it in and grease it. I can melt the ghee in the tray to save on this brush a strong layer so that the phyllo doesn't dry out or stick to the floor. I also try to get the sides. After that, in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, I take the first half of the phyllo and brush it with the name of God. Between each layer I have to brush some ghee so that it comes out puffy so that it doesn't come out dry. It doesn't matter if it's a lot of ghee, but it matters that I brush it. Once half of the phyllo is finished, I put the filling. Look, lightly brush it, but it has to be brushed. If one end comes out from above like this or something, that's good. Why? So that the filling doesn't stick to the valve wall. But I'll finish it all. I'll get back to you, God willing. On the table, the first half of the phyllo dough was cooked. I'll put the Bismillah, the most gracious, of course. I'll put it according to the size of the tray. I don't have to put the whole half kilo. And when it is spread out well, it is usually half a kilo of phyllo pastry that takes a quarter kilo of minced meat. But of course the quantities depend on what you want and each person's capabilities. Instead of minced meat, we can also make it with liver and intestines. We can make it with chicken. We bring chicken breasts, mince them and make it with them. It will be delicious and strange. That's it. It takes approximately a quarter kilo of minced meat. And the rest I will leave it to do something else. When I finished it, I turned on the oven to heat it up because it needs to be put in a hot oven. Now, in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, I mash the other half of the phyllo pastry, and I will also do what I did at the beginning. I spread it and put a layer and grease it all over with ghee. People put 2 layers and then grease it, but I like to do it with butter between each layer so that it doesn't get dry and it stays flaky and nice. Of course, do not use any fatty material. You can use oil, ghee, or butter as you like. That's it, making blush has become a thing of the past. I also put the last layer on it. I put the remaining spoon of ghee in it, In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Then I cut it before I put it in the oven. I have to cut it so that it cooks well. In the name of God, of course I turned on the oven to heat up. After I finish cutting the phyllo pastry, I put it in the oven on the middle rack at 180 degrees Celsius until it turns red and yellow, and then we will see what to do with it. The blush boxes turn yellow. I put an egg in it and say, "In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful." I put it in the same place where I had melted the ghee so that I don't mess up the time too much. I put a sprinkle of salt and a sprinkle of black pepper in it and mix it well. And a cup of milk. I mix them well and leave them aside until the phyllo dough turns red. Try to make it yellow. After the phyllo dough has hardened and turned a little yellow, I will add the milk and eggs. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. I will try to distribute it well. I will bring the tray like this for a while so that it will cover all sides. Then I will put them back in the oven again until they turn red and are cooked well, and we will see, God willing, after they come out of the oven. This is what the baklava looks like after it comes out of the oven. In the name of God, it is crunchy on the outside and soft on the inside. I will leave it until it cools down a bit, then cut it together and serve it. After I leave this baklava for a bit, I will start cutting it. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. I cut it with scissors. This is Bismillah, and the baklava turned out to be very nice and crunchy on top and soft on the inside. Try it. I hope you like it and enjoy.